Glad to know you're still with us. We begin with a comparative analysis of earnings. That's for brewing companies. And so we have 4 companies that we're looking at. We have Nigerian breweries, we have Champion Breweries, we have International Breweries, and then we have Guinness Nigeria. And of course, we're looking at the 2022 Q2, beg your pardon, 2022 Q2 earnings against 2021 Q2 earnings, and then we'll look at the percentage change. So we start with the earnings, like I said earlier. So in 2022 for Nigerian breweries, they had 274.08 billion naira, and then in 2021 Q2 they had 209.26 billion naira. The percentage change there being 30.98. And then for Champion Breweries, they had 6.86 billion naira in 2022 Q2, and in 2021 Q2 they had 4.84 billion naira. And then for the percentage change there, it's 41.63. For International Breweries, there 111.40 billion naira. In 2021, 81.95 billion naira. The percentage change, 35.94. And finally, for Guinness Nigeria, 206.82 billion naira in 2022 Q2, and in 2021, 160.42 billion naira. The percentage change there being 28.93. But before we dive into or delve into analyzing all this, I'd like you to give us an overview of consumer goods of that particular sector.
Actually, looking at the figure, I would say that the sector have done well in terms of performance, and that tells you that the post-COVID-19, which I've said earlier when we were doing through that, we have seen companies in Nigeria performing excellently, of which the beer sector is not far from it. This number tells you that there's potential in this sector. But another thing that is going to add against this sector, to speak now, is that the more inflation is rising and purchasing power of people are still not enough to that might stop the kind of slow down the consumption. But because of the kind of move after the COVID-19, they are reaching out back. During COVID, there was kind of a lockdown. People are not having access to that, but now there's no lockdown anywhere. And also the marketers of this company are taking this product to some kind of destination. That tells you that the force behind their marketing is very, very strong. I believe that was also going to support the line. But as I said, it's only the inflation and also the high cost of living that were affordable. Because of the nature of the product, yes, they might still be making profit, but investors should also be very careful. When inflation starts hitting the figure, we might see something different. But for now, I believe that the numbers are selling something that is good for investors, that at the end of the day, they will support the payout. You can see what happened in Guinness at the end of the day. Guinness payout is about almost 7 naira 14 kobo for one just financial year. Yes. You can see that, for me, it's a good number to support. If others are going that direction, this should also guide investors what to do. But for me, investors should take a decision on that, whether to buy or sell.
All right. Okay, let's have your take.
Looking at the industry as a whole, the consumer goods sector, yes, I would say when these people operating outside Nigeria, looking at this kind of figures, and of course they say numbers don't tell lies. Yes, we have seen the figures and some of the facts behind these figures. Well, some persons will say it is because these are products that are consumed out of habit, and once somebody has cultivated a habit, it's difficult to. But I would say, well, I want to just commend them, but I'm also very careful, this brewing company, because in terms of their adverts, in terms of what they have done in the environment, trying to tell people to drink responsibly, and I must say they've also emphasized more of their non-alcoholic beverages, because I know I take even today I've taken one of the products. I won't mention it since they have not done any advert. So for me, yes, declaring or making this kind of earnings is good, but I want to also hold them responsible as to how they have impacted their community where they are operating, how they have impacted their workers, how they have impacted, in terms of government initiative. Because if you just pass through some of these breweries, I pass through Nigeria most of the time, you will observe some of the wastes, and I'm so happy they have done quite a lot in terms of managing that. That's my concern. Sustainability. Because yes, these figures are good, but at the same time, I still want them to intensify that advert. Drink responsibly.
All right, that's interesting. Well, very quickly, Mr. Tunde, if you can hear me, I'd like to have your take on this, just very quickly.
Well, like Ambrose have rightly said, the performance in the sector is impressive, and this you can see that before now they had the challenge of moving their goods to some parts of the country, but as we speak, you know that the rate of the insurgents, the level has subsided a little bit. They are now able to enter some states within the country, and you can see the effect from their sales, that their sales is now coming up, unlike before. The cost of moving their goods to some part of the country before is quite on the high side. So this, all of them in the sector are now being able to do better business like before. Yes, the inflation, purchasing power is going to drop and all of that. But if you check their products, most people who take these products are taking it. Some of them will say they want to use it to wipe away their pressure. So I don't even see these products coming down even during the time that purchasing power is low or because of inflation. So I believe that some of these products will still do very well even despite inflation.
All right, thank you so much. Very quickly, let's check out the profit after tax. For profit after tax, we're still looking at second quarter 2022 against second quarter 2021, and there we'll see the change. For Nigerian breweries, 18.74 billion naira profit after tax. 2021, 7.72 billion naira, and the percentage change 142.84. Someone said, wow, yeah. Okay, then for Champion Breweries, 1.08 billion naira, 2022 Q2. And then for 2021 Q2, 445.24 million naira. The percentage change, 141.61%. All right. For international breweries, 336.20 million naira. And then in 2021, minus 13.89 billion naira. The percentage change being minus 102.42. For Guinness Nigeria, they had a 15.65 billion naira profit after tax. And then in 2021, 1.26 billion naira. The percentage change being 1,146.78. Mr. Garuba, let's have your take on this. Hello,
even the negative. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, what I'm saying, I want to even the international where they say it's negative, it's not negative, it's positive because they are moving from loss to the profit. So after that one, it shows you that Nigerians, they need challenge period. Because of the scarcity of the foreign exchange, people now abandon the foreign beers, they come to the local one. And that is why you see tremendous increase in the turnover and profitability. And what does that mean? It shows that when the chips are down, people concentrate and hold what he has. So Nigerians now take more of Nigerians than rather the foreign. And that's what reflects in the turnover, what reflects in profitability. And with this, it will increase their capacity, and that will bring more employment and better for the economy.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the percentage change now between Q2 2022 and Q2 2021. I see that to a very large extent, we have over 100% change. Mr. Garuba, I still need you to talk about this. What happened 2021, 2022?
You see, what happened that they have their raw materials at a lower cost. Now, because of the inflation and the exchange rate, they have to sell for replacement cost. So the difference gives them higher profitability. Because remember, at the time they acquired this material, their dollar exchange rate was far low compared to what it is today. So the difference has become profitability. That is why during inflation, you see most of the manufacturing companies, they are good because they are in high demand, and whatever the price they buy the raw material, by the time they convert it into final production, they will see that already the price have changed, and they will reflect those change to the consumer, and the consumer have no choice than to pay for it because the alternative will cost you more. And that is why you see more than 100% increase in their profitability.
All right.
So would this reflect in their payout?
Well, that's a question. Will it reflect in their payouts? I guess when they give us their results,
what we are calling replacement cost. Even though they make this profit, now the cost of replacing those material are higher, and therefore they need more money to buy more material to continue in production rather than paying out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Correct.
Mr. Tunde, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that what Alaji is saying is very correct.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Well, I think we'll move to...
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful contribution. I love that.
All right, so for earnings per share, we start again with Nigerian breweries, 2 naira 28 kobo. That's what we have there for Nigerian breweries. And then for champion breweries, we have 14 kobo. For international breweries, we have 1 kobo. And then for Guinness Nigeria, 7 naira 15 kobo. And then, of course, the dividend is a full year dividend. There's 7 naira 14 kobo. Well, I'd like to start with Mr. Charles on this one.
Yes, for Guinness, I think I will commend them for that. You have an earnings per share of 7 naira 15 kobo, and you are paying out as dividend, full dividend, 7 naira 14 kobo. What's that percentage payout ratio now? Is it 100%? 99%. Yes, I must commend the management for that. Yeah. And again, most especially, Guinness is the first company that has agreed to pay their female staff 26 weeks of my maternity.
Okay.
Yes, so that shows that they are actually taking care of their people, which is very, very important, because you cannot make this kind of profits and we're not seeing it reflected in your people. So I'm happy with that. It's really reflecting in their people. But again, it should not just end only there.
Okay.
Yes, they should continue to do better. And I've seen that they've also gotten involved in responsible drinking. They've taken some of these initiatives to some rural communities to ensure that they have good drinking water. They've also invested in education, you know, and also they've also invested in some communities in terms of teaching the people skill there. Yes, Guinness has shown that with their international main owners, that is Diego, of which country is that one now again? I can't even remember.
Is it Germany or London?
Or maybe something. I think it's Great Britain.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can see that it's showing that it's an international company, and of course, all their production processes are of high class standard. I'm not among those who drink a lot of beer, but I will tell you that in terms of the production, it's quality of their products. Of course, they also have non-alcoholic beverages that all of us take most of the time. Yes, they should just continue what they are doing. At the same time, also should not relent in terms of their waste management processes. But they also have one of the excellent waste management containment in their factory. So I think, yes, in terms of the environment, they have done so well. Okay,
let's talk about the other, let's look at the earnings per share of the other companies, and I'd like you to talk about them generally.
Okay, let's see what, yes, for Nigerian breweries, well, 2 naira 28 kobo, I'm not too impressed. Because, I mean, if you have that, how much are you going to pay out? Is it 1 naira?
This is a half-year result.
Of course, this is half-year result, of course.
Like
they also do some interim at times.
They do interim in their third quarter.
Interim in their third quarter. Okay, yeah. So we expect that with this 2 naira 28 kobo, maybe they can be able to pay, they can pay about 1 naira. That is also very good. Yes, again, coming to looking at their interaction with the environment, yes, if I have to score them, you know, in terms of their sustainability report, I think I will give Nigerian breweries also maybe 75 to 80%, because right there before you enter their premises, safety begins here, and you see it reflecting in their workers. And of course, you see all the safety standards that are being displayed, everything. But my advice for them will be that community where they operate, they should get more involved in terms of repairing that road, you know, because you can't, it is these people that have given you these profits. Yeah. It is these people that have given you this conducive environment you are making this money. You know?
I think you're really interested in sustainability, so much so that I'm wondering if you're also interested in those of us that are investors and all.
No, for even investor, you have that power to tell the company, your 1 naira that you invest in a company, you have that power to tell them, do you want them to behave responsibly? Because
Perfect.
we
I
have
think that's a
gotten
good
to
place.
the stage where it is responsible investment. So company management, we in our finance expert, we must begin to let them know that you cannot make profit
and take everything away.
You just need to be very
Social
responsible
responsibility,
in terms of the environment, the people, and of course, you can make your profit.
Now you have me in your boots. All right, price to earnings ratio, that's the PE ratio now. Nigerian breweries 20.92. Champion breweries 28.02. International breweries 427.46. And for Guinness Nigeria 12.67. Mr. Garba, let's have your thoughts.
This is not like other ordinary companies. So even where the fee ratio is high, nothing to worry about, because one of the components of the price earning ratio is the price of the stock. Remember, in 2020, Guinness was trading at 14 naira. So today it's trading over 18 naira, almost 19 naira. So when I see the change in the price ratio, is because there is change in the price of the stock. So I don't need to investor to be worried much about the price and ratio of this. These are the companies that they compare as much as 99% of their earnings. I believe the future is the sky. These are the jobs that we.
Okay, you can go ahead if you can hear me. Well, I guess we got disconnected. Mr. Tunde, you can take it up from there, please.
All right, if you check the PE ratio, number one, like Elijah rightly said, the IP ratio is just normal. Another way to interpret PE ratio is to attach it to investors' confidence in the stock, because if the confidence is high, they are likely to value it higher. Now, number two, if you check the PE ratio between 2021 and 2022, you see that there is a lot of adjustment, over 64.88% adjustment. So this is not something that anybody need to worry about. But before I round this question up, let me comment on Guinness. If you check the result of Guinness before now, you'll see that they have a lot of expenses, especially in the management of lots of expatriates that they brought into the company, and this has long dipped into their earnings. But for now, if you begin to check their results, you see that they have adjusted that to a very little minimal level, and that's why you are not seeing better results, better performance from Guinness. Thank you.
All right, now let's move on to the book value per share. For book value per share, we have the Nigerian breweries 22.86, Champion 1.31, International breweries 5.14, and for Guinness Nigeria 41.08. Very quickly, Ambrose, I'd like you to just comment on this very quickly.
Yeah, I said earlier that when it comes to book value, for me, it's mostly for if you want to liquidate a company, it's not for you to have an idea of valuation, but that doesn't tell you the real position of the company, because you have different model of determining the valuation of a company. But for an investor, it's a smart way to know what is the real value in case anything happen in that company, but what will come to you after taking care of their liabilities and all those associated costs. But for me, they are okay, because I believe that investors are seeing value in these companies. Also, looking at their P ratio, which were larger and cooler, and today has also there. We tell you that see, look at that of Guinness. Guinness, now P ratio is about 12. Now that means 12 times of their earnings. For me, it's a good one. That is for full year. But for others, our second half of half year result. For me, going to the future, I see also in a better P ratio. For me, it's a good thing for those sector. Yeah.
All right, very quickly.
Yes, quickly, just 30 seconds. Yeah, for book value, well, like all they've all said, is just for looking at the analysis of how the value of the company. But again, when you have this figure, you just have to combine with other parameters before you can begin to take a decision. Well, if you look at it, I would say all the companies here are doing very well. If you look at the book value, they're all doing very well. Compared to their current market price, you can see that they're overpriced. If you look at it, they're overpriced. That does not send any information. Yes. So I would just encourage them, but for investors, or maybe speculators, as the case may be, or those who want to make money on a daily basis, because that is the essence of the stock market. I will agree with Ambrose on this one, because that fluctuation of movement of price up and down, that is where investors can make money. Because if the price just remains static, that everybody is waiting for in the dividend interim. You can only
It'll
make
be
money.
interesting.
It should
of
even be
course.
interesting.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's everyday buying and selling that really makes. So I would let investors, yes, look at the book value, but at the same time, try to combine with other parameters for you to take your decision.
Yeah.
All right, for profit margin now, Nigerian breweries 6.84, and then for champion breweries 15.68, for international breweries 0.30, and for Guinness Nigeria 7.57. And of course, this is Q2. Let's have your thought, Mr. Garba.
Well, my concern that those that have book value, higher book value, you should respect them. Because what it means that they have latest machinery, and because of the scarcity of the foreign exchange now, those that have low book value is to be worried about. Because what it means that if they have to replace their machinery, they have to go and buy the land at consumption price, and probably they may not be able to match. And that is why you see it in Guinness, is the efficiency and in terms of returns. So I respect those that have high book value because they have latest machinery and they are able to acquire them. Those that have low book value to be worried about because they may not be able to replace their machinery because of the scarcity of the foreign exchange, and most of the machinery are imported, and this will be more challenging and difficult for them to cope up.
All right, now let's look at the profit margin, which we just looked at now. That's the Nigerian breweries, 6.84, champion, 15.68, international breweries, 0.30, Guinness Nigeria, 7.57. I'd like to have your thoughts on that.
Well, you see, profit margin for these companies, I always said it. Yes, it's good to look at the profit margin because you take from the profit. But the truth of the matter, these are the companies that they can give you 99% of their earnings. So honestly speaking, I respect them, irrespective of their profit margin, because there is increase in the turnover, mean increase in profitability, and more to the dividend.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right, Mr. Tunde, go ahead.
Can I just say something before this session moves on? Number one, I want to say hello, can you hear me very well?
Yes.
All right. The book value, if you check, how do we get our value when we are estimating book value? It's just the net asset over shareholders for. And net asset is the difference between total assets and total liability. But there are other things that we do not estimate. Okay, yeah. So when you see a low book value and you see a high market price, it doesn't necessarily mean that the stock is overpriced or thereabouts. Because if we want to do normal valuation, there are other things that will be considered. You see the company, the expatriate they have, the products and so many other things are not valued in the net asset that we use. So the meaning of net asset is just that we are saying, on the worst scenario, what can we get back from this company when we have net their total asset from total liability? So the fact that the low book value is low doesn't mean the stock is not performing well.
All right. I guess I really wanted you to speak on profit margin, but we do not have the time. Alhaji already shared his
profit margin, of course, if you check profit margin, you realize that all of them have high cost of running the business. And that's why you see their profit margin very low. Profit margin is not the difference between the percentage of the profit they reported to their turnover value. You know that between turnover and profit, so many things are passed on. So it depends on the cost that they incur.
Let me come in here. Are you not concerned? Because looking at the profit after tax, looking at some other parameters, they looked quite high compared to this profit margin. It looks slim compared to other parameters that we have reviewed today. Aren't you concerned about that? If you can hear me, Mr. Tunde, do go ahead, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. We don't compare the same parameter. We compare the total the total revenue with the profit after tax. When we say profit margin, we are saying that the profit they have reported is 6.something% of their total revenue. And you know that the figure we quoted as total revenue, so many things have gone, a lot of expenses have been deducted before we arrive at that figure. So the simple implication is that the cost of running that business is on the high side. That's why the profit margin will be lower than other ratios that we have compared.
Well, of course, I was just wondering if anything can be done to reduce the costs.
Hello?
Just to add to what Today just said now.
Okay.
For investors.
Yeah, we can hear you. Ambrose is speaking now. Thank you.
Just to add what is there, for investors, you need to look at how efficient your company where you're investing is, because if you see a company that has a 40% profit margin, it tells you that out of 1 naira revenue they are making, they are keeping about 40 kobo. Just like Today said, the high cost associated with this operation is also what we're seeing. But it tells you that with the number we're seeing, they might like to pay good. But for you as an investor, you want to look at a company that is efficient and also profitable in terms of continuity. But one thing that most investors don't look at this figure alone, where I'm very, very concerned as an analyst, that after seeing the figure, go and check this company operating cash flow. Is it consistent with the earnings? If the operating cash flow is looking positive and in up direction at end, thumb up for the company. But when your earnings is looking up and your cash flow is declining, investors have to be very, very careful. But like I said, this profit margin is also for you to know how efficient in terms of managing costs for your company. But I believe that the high cost associated with Brewing, and like you said, the exchange rate and others that have also boosted there. If you look at the top line and bottom line, in between there are different costs: cost of sale, cost of operation, cost of this, cost of finance, all that. Then you can see what is happening in the economy today, where we have seen that the cost of finance has increased tremendously. That is also part of what we're seeing. But you can see other companies on the exchange that have done perfectly well in terms of managing their cost. That's why as an investor, you need to invest in every company on the exchange. Those that you see that you have kind of choose or pick as well that are well run, fundamentally sound, technicals are talking positive, you go there and invest. For me, this fundamental is just to gather. So I said, as a trader and investor, want to be successful, you must know to combine your technical and your fundamental effectively to make informed decision. That is the way to go.
All right, I think I will end. We have to end it on this note. I'll just
Nigerian breweries and international breweries, they have a relationship.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. I think
thank you.
I really have to appreciate everyone who has been a guest today. Thank you so much for coming, Charles Faproha.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for coming on the show, Ambrose.
Yeah, thanks, Asuja.
All right. Many thanks for joining us, Mr. Garuba Kasimu. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Mr. Dario, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you. God bless you.
Well, it's a wrap on the show. Many thanks for watching. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Happy weekend. Bye for now.